Okay, here we go. Much like this draft is a time walk, extra turn draft, I had to record this twice because the audio was corrupted the first time. So, deja vu, here we go. Let's do it. So, first, I see time walk, a very strong card, a unique effect. You want to do it. Otherwise, you could take Grave Titan, a great reanimate target that's also castable. There's Jace, there's Library, Battlesphere if you're really looking to artifacts or tinker it up. Sakura Tribe Elder for the green, Path to Exile, a lot of good cards, but I'm going with Time Walk. I haven't done Time Walk things yet. It's always fun to do Time Walk things, so like, hey, let's grab it. Let's do it. Library fits in more decks, and that like even aggressive decks can make use of it early, but there's just so many cool things. So immediately after getting Time Walk, there's Bribery, which just ends games. Like there's so many decks that I play that if someone bribes me, I concede because they get my Emrakul. Also, there's Zealous Conscripts. I could go the Kiki Jiki route. There's Show and Tell. I could go Big Things route. Seagate Stormcaller, which would allow me to duplicate my Time Walk. But I mean, the universe kind of gave me 2 extra turn cards in a row. So I'm like, you know what? I think that's a sign. Much like I have another draft where I get like one Eldrazi of the OG Eldrazi's, and I get a second one. And after that, when the third one shows up, you kind of have to pick it, even though you're already kind of good for Eldrazi. So you know what? Time Walk. What am I looking for now? I'm looking for Snapcaster Mage. I'm looking for Baby Jace. I'm looking for Soulfire Grandmaster. I'm Eternal Witness would even be good with the regrowth. I'm just looking for ways to take as many turns as possible. And I'm also looking for Planeswalkers. Planeswalkers are one of the ways that you can really utilize extra turns, or like Hero of Bladehold or Rabbleman, things that are making tokens every turn. Suspend cards, all this. So I look at this, I get Rabbleman, but Rabbleman has been coming like second to last in picks recently. Damnation would be good if I'm doing a control Planeswalker deck. Geist is good as well, as far as like 2 Geist hits is 12 damage, but I go with the Brazen Borrower. It's really good against like Reanimate, etc., because you can use the bounce half and they have to start all over on reanimating. And as a 3/1 in the air that hits early and at instant speed, I can deal a lot of damage, flashing it in at the end of your turn and then taking 2 turns. That's 6 damage. That's a lot. So here, there's the Lotus, Collective Brutality, but I take Venser. I already have 1 bounce effect. I'm like, oh, I can have another bounce effect. I could bounce, like, there's also Eternal Witness, which is, is good with these time walks, but I like the Venser. It's control, it's another flash creature. I can, like, bounce your land, setting you back, time walk, setting me forward, and then I've really, exaggerated the discrepancy between our resources. So here, multiple picks that are good. There's Mystical Tutor for my time walks, Ulamog if I'm still trying to do some sort of cheaty effect, or Frost Titan, which when you time walk with Frost Titan, you tap down multiple of their lands for their next turns, and it's a high-end win. But I'm going with Mystical Tutor. I don't know what other powerful spells I might grab, like maybe I get an Ancestral. So Mystic Tutor is what I grab here. Also, other good cards here, Harmonize, Acidic Slime. So here, just Through the Breach, which makes me so sad that I didn't pick that Ulamog. Upheaval could be great with Time Walk, and that you can get even further ahead after upheavaling. I don't have much ramp. I'm just grabbing Baby Jace. It's a good control card. It technically is a win condition on the Planeswalker side, and it allows me to take extra turns to Time Walk again. So, what are the dangers of this deck? The dangers of this deck right now is I don't have any permission. I have Venser, which is soft permission. It's delaying permission, which, the whole deck is like controlling time, so it kind of works so that like you still get to cast that, but on a future turn, which hopefully I will kill you before. But I have no way of dealing with early Ionas or things. So there's Ancestral Vision, which Suspend is great in Time War decks. There's also Riftwing, which is another bounce creature. It's a really tough decision. Suspend is really good. Right now I'm thinking most of my threats are 1-for-1, like Brazen Barrow bounces one thing and then it's a creature. Venser bounces one thing and it's a creature. I have nothing to go wide, no real brute force card advantage. So that's why I go with Ancestral, especially like if you Ancestral. So here there's Ataxian, which is a free card, or there's Narset. Narset can find all of these powerful things. It can find Mystical Tutor, which then allows me to find me. So I'm just grabbing that. Here, nothing for me. I grabbed the Grave Titan. Oh, I grabbed the Citadel. Yeah, I'm thinking like maybe I have a weird storm thing. If I'm taking extra turns, then the downside of Citadel is that you hit land clumps. But if I'm taking extra turns, I can get past that with Mystical Tutor. I can sort of control. If you hit a land clump, you can Mystical Tutor, put a cheap like Time Walk on top of your library, and then you play it with Bolas' Citadel, and then you've hopefully broken through that land clump. Although Grave Titan would also be a good pick. Grave Titaning and then Time Walking kind of win. So here, the show and tell if I want to do big things, but now I'm like, ooh, Seagate, Stormcaller. I already have Time Walk. Time Walk's really the only spell I can use Seagate for. So here there's Baral, but I really think the correct choice in retrospect is the Geist because of how much damage it hits with if I take an extra turn. Right now I'm just thinking like, oh, I'm playing instants, but I really don't have that many instants. Like I said, Seagate Stormcaller can copy Time Walk. It can copy Mystical Tutor, but because it shuffles my library in between, you don't get 2 cards. Frost Titan comes back around, which like, what? No, there has to be someone that could use a Frost Titan. So I get very lucky there in that I get a third to last pick Frost Titan, grab the ice just in case. So now, one of the other problems that this deck might have is like no way to end the game. You know, I have a bunch of 2/2 creatures, which can peck my opponent to death, but it's really hard to end it. Now I have Frost Titan. I have a way to say the game is over now. So this is a tough one for me. There's Frantic Search, which fundamentally makes my deck smaller. It's like playing with 38 cards, but you're sacrificing, some card advantage. Or there's Glenalindra, which once you get Glenalindra up, most of the Glass Cannon decks I play against, Glenalindra is just game over. It's hard to deal with 1 counterspell, let alone 2. My strong things usually tend to be spells, not creatures. So I think if I can Glenalindra and then Time Walk, I can shut a lot of opponents out of the game. So I'm going to do that here. Oh, there's Emrakul, but I don't have any cheat effects. And we're on to the second pack. I don't know if I will. Control Magic is a unique effect. It's another 1-for-1. It's something that is very powerful, once again, against Reanimate and the decks I tend to play. Between that and like maybe Vamp Tutor, maybe Big Tef, I don't know, but I'm trying to stay blue if possible. So Control Magic it is. And also, like, I'm playing a game called Magic. It's a card called Control Magic. Of course I want to control Magic. That's a game I'm playing. So here, there's the balance, but like I'm playing a bunch of Piddly creatures. So I'm not going to get the very strong Wrath of God balances. There's also Spell Pierce, which I really do want, especially since I don't have much to do in the beginning of the game. Spell Pierce is some much added power, but Fallen Shinobi, especially with these like piddly little bounce creatures, can be very strong. And if you get 2 turns with it, it'll just end the game. So I sort of hedge into that, thinking this is. There's also the Fountain that is hallowed as a card here, but I just go for Shinobi. It's a way, like, you can play Glenalindra, use it once, reset it with Shinobi, play it again, and then you get 2 more spells. There's Venser, which if I Shinobi up, I get another thing. There's Brazen Bar, which if I Shinobi up, I get to bounce another thing. There's Seagate Stormcaller, which if I bounce a Shinobi, I get to copy it. There's just, like, so many little synergies with Fallen Shinobi that I'm thinking, like, it's a game winner. Yeah. I'm really thinking about this Spell Pierce right now is what's taking me so long. So here there's Fractured Identity, which is the pick. It just ends games. Torrential Gearhulk, I don't have many instances to copy. So this is a tough one as well. There's a Force of Negation, but the problem with Force of Negation in my deck is I don't have much card advantage. I have Ancestral Vision and that's really it. That's it. It's like Ancestral Vision, Narset. That's it. Everything else is sort of 1-for-1 or maybe 2-for-1 with Control Magic's Fractured Identity. So I really need ways to find what I need. Ponder not only gives me another Seagate Stormcaller target, but it lets you look at 4 cards, the first 3, and then if you don't like them, another one, even though it could be one of the original 4 after you reshuffle. So here, there's Turnabout, but I think I'm past the point where I'm comboing. There's Lapse as far as like more control, and if I go white for the Fractured Identity, I'm thinking about turnabout because what I can do is I can tap all your stuff, take my turn, take an extra turn, and then you're tapped out for 2 of my turns, which is very strong. So here, Preordain, very tempting because of the whole Ponder logic, Seagate, Stormcaller logic. But Vendilion is another little, like, hey, value creature that comes in a flash. It can attack you in the air and kill you. It's a way to win, and if I fall in Shinobi it, I can get it back. So this is very difficult for me, but I think, once again, my deck is light on ways. It has like 5 ways to win the game. If my opponent has a little bit of like black removal, I can very easily get shut out. So here, I think it's Expansion Explosion because it allows me to copy Time Walk, but I grab Wrath of God just in case I'm doing white control with the Fractured Identity. High Tide, although I don't have many ways to abuse it or to go off. Like, I can't draw any cards, so I'm high tiding and hoping to use the cards that I already have. So, yep, there. 1 second, everyone. Boop. Okay, this pack, Treasure Cruise, I probably won't use it. It's too expensive. Super late. It is card advantage super late game, but I'm thinking like I'd rather have a little bit of removal. So I grabbed the Blood Chief's Thirst. It's also a way to get rid of Planeswalkers. It's also something that can be copied with Seagate Stormcaller. It's much easier to bring it back with Jace. Like, if I'm using Treasure Cruise, I'm probably removing my whole graveyard, and so I'm getting rid of the maybe Time Walks that I have in my graveyard, and then I can't get them back. So here, there's Balance, which is so strong, so tempting, but with like Time Walk, if I Time Walk turn 2, I'm getting a Land of Head, I'm getting an extra card, which I would then lose if I Balance. I'm playing Piddly Little Creatures, so this isn't like a drop a Planeswalker, drop a bunch of artifacts or enchantments, and then balance deck. So I'd much rather have the Spell Pierce as some protection against all the, the turn 2 channel Emrakuls of the world. The turn 2 Entomb Reanimates. The turn 2, the things that happen on turn 2. So Dark Confidant could actually work with this deck. It'd be a little dangerous if I keep taking turns. And then, once again, Spectral Procession, I could technically play. And taking extra turns after great. I get my white counterspell. I'm not going to play it. Once again, I kind of think at this point that, like, well, you know what? I'm mono blue. No reason to be anything except mono blue, right, y'all? Why would I do anything except mono blue? I don't want to make... Because I have all these... I have, Brazen Borrow, Narset, Vendilion. It means 2/3 of my mana should probably be blue. So here, there's Dak, which is very tempting as both control... Card selection, it's a 3 mana planeswalker, so presumably I could turn 2 Time Walk, turn 3 Dak real early. Gideon, once again, tempting. Kozilek, I think the train is left as far as cheating in big things. There's Wheel of Fortune, which sort of works, that I can Wheel of Fortune Time Walk and hopefully get the first draw 7, the first turn with 7 cards. But once again, all my answers are 1 for 1, and I'm not going to have a lot of resources. I'm going to be bottlenecked of playing probably 1 spell a turn, so I don't want to give like a cheap Reanimate or a Storm or a Blazing Red deck 7 new cards. Too dangerous. Phantasmal Image, great, but the problem with Phantasmal Image in this deck is it's kind of only broken if my opponent is doing broken things, and I don't want a card that is predicated on the fact of me letting my opponent do broken things. Like, it's only good when my opponent is doing potentially game-winning things. Like, I don't want to get that close to losing, so I go Shelldock Isle. Potentially, I'll be taking extra turns, hopefully drawing my deck down, hopefully getting to that 20 mark, and then... Shelldock will be a free spell, whether a Time Walk or whatever. Here, it's really hard. This is really hard for me. There's Consecrated Sphinx and Wormcoil. Sun Titan is the only Titan that you should be getting third to last pick. Zingo! Hey-oh! Whoop-a-pow-pow! So I'm confident that if I want it and I'm splashing white, I'll get it on the wheel. Wormcoil, very strong in that it gains me life, so it's good against aggression. It's good against control, and then it poops out 2 3/3s. But Consecrated Sphinx is just like, if I can draw a bunch of cards, I can probably take extra turns. and then the Sphinx will lead me to victory. So it's a very hard pick, but I take the Sphinx. Here it's between Mana Leak and the Cryptic. There's also this Underground Sea and the Toxic Deluge, which are tempting. Lily is too much black mana. The Cryptic, it's like, it's a unique effect again, that like I can tap all your creatures, and if I take 2 turns, your creatures are tapped for 2 turns. But yeah, the Mana Leak is very important, so I hate passing it. I take the Remand because now, once again, I have more protection against the turn 2 Channels of the World. Although Remand, once again, just sort of kicks the can down the road of like, well, okay, I'll deal with this later. But there's the combo of remanding something and then hopefully Vendiliing it before they can play it again, or knowing about it so I can Brazen Borrow it. Or if I'm remanding on turn 3, then I can Cryptic on turn 4. But I'm still in my heart, I'm like, oh, the Mana Leak, I'm sorry, I'm so sorry. Oh, I wish I had room for you. I'm so sorry. My eyes are leaking because my mana is not. Zingo! Yes, I am a professional comedian. Thank you so much. So here I'm thinking like, okay, everything in this pile on the right is probably getting not used. So here, Brainstorm, very tempting. Opposition, I don't have enough creatures. Blightsteel, the ship has sailed, the train has left, the whatever you want to say for it. I'm not cheating out big things. So Snapcaster is another way to play all these extra turns. Love it. Way better than Seagate Stormcaller. Seagate Stormcaller, for those keeping track, has 2 spells that it can use right now that I plan on playing. Ponder and Time Walk. So not the best. Here, there's Shallow Grave, which is like, well, that's a way to cheat something out. Time Spiral, but once again, same argument via the draw 7. I'm only playing 1 spell a turn. I don't want to give my opponent more cards. Here, it's Between Days, which I really do want, and the Teferi. I feel like if I'm taking extra turns and I know you can't do anything during them, that's very powerful. Also, Tef can reset the Glenelendra. Lots of power there. Urza, great, but it's Soulfire Grandmaster because if I have 6 mana, Soulfire allows me to take infinite turns. That's the reason Soulfire Grandmaster is in the cube, is because of the Time Walk combo. Yes, there's some little teeny combos with Soulfire Grandmaster and like, swords and paths and teeny values, but the real reason is the game-winning Time Walk Soulfire Grandmaster, or if you have 9 mana, Time Warp and Soulfire Grandmaster. So I take the deck. Probably not going to play it. Not going to add yet another color. I have Cryptic Command, which kind of begs for 3/4 of my mana to be blue. And on top of these Brazens and Narsets and Villian, I don't even know if I'm playing white or black. I sort of have enough playables without them. So it's very tempting in Cube to just look. Oh, so here I'm like, okay, well, Sun Titan, why not? And then it gives me another potential win. I do have a lot of powerful 3s with Brazen Borrow, Narset, Vendilion, Teferi. Get the Soulfire Grandmaster back. Get the Jace back. So it's not terrible to consider playing the Sun Titan, especially because, once again, if I'm playing extra turns, I get 2 things back. Well, I get 2 things back. I'm like, do I get 3 things back? No, 2 things. The Mana Leak came home. I'm so sorry, baby. Oh, baby, I'm so glad. Thank you. Thank you for sticking around. Oh, Mana Leak, I will never do that to you again. I left you at soccer practice. Oh, no. So happy to have it. Once again, I need ways to survive until I can get the incremental value from all my Brazen Bar, Vendilion Click, Control Magic, Cryptic Command, Vencers, Glenelendras. So, pretty happy. The Baral, I don't really have that many even expensive, Time Warp is my most expensive spell, and I'd still be playing 4 for it. I don't need a poopy little 1/3 that maybe gives me card selection, not card advantage, for Spell Pierce 1, Mana Leak 2, Remand 3, Cryptic 4. That's it. 4. So there's 4 potential cards I could maybe loot with if I have Brawl. No thank you. No thank you. Pass. Here is the Hymn to Torok. Very powerful. I don't think I'm going that deep into black because, once again, it's 2 black, and that would be very hard to cast. And I have no mana fixing whatsoever. So I'm thinking, once again, I don't have that many spells for the Stormcaller to play. So, you know what? Bye-bye, Stormcaller. I get the Brainstorm. I love the Brainstorm. Especially because I have, Mystical Tutor. I have Shelldock. I do have ways to brainstorm, put things on top, and get rid of them. Vindicate's an interesting one because I'm potentially splashing both black and white as I'm in. And then the Daze, oh, my other baby that I left at soccer practice. I thought Daze was gone. I thought Daze was completely gone. So I get rid of the those bloom. I don't have really much to cheat out. Yeah, the Sphinx or the Frost Titan, but this is more of a value deck. I don't want a card that gives me card disadvantage for tempo, especially because if I draw Lotus Bloom on turn 4, kind of a dead card. Now, the counter argument is I have Time Walk, so, if I Lotus Bloom, then turn 2 Time Walk Explore, then I'm getting to the point where I'm Frost Titaning or Sphinxing very early in the game relative to my opponent. But if it's Frost Titan, then I don't have many extra cards, and then all I have to do is balance or wrath or something. Then you get it. Even though it's also white mana, going back and forth. So here's the deck, and I'm like, do I keep this Fallen Shinobi? Do I not keep this Fallen Shinobi? Do I keep this Fallen Shinobi? I really kind of don't want to splash 2 colors because of how hungry my deck is for blue. My deck is thirsty for some blue. Oh boy, does my deck want blue mana. So I'm looking at what else. Whoa, white I have. The one thing my deck really can't deal with is decks that go wide. Like if you empty the warrens for 8, I'm dead. I'm pretty much dead. So I'm looking at this Wrath I've got, or double Grave Titan, Grave Titan and get an attack off with it. My deck is dead. The only answers for that is to Cryptic all your creatures and hope to attack in the air over you. That's the plan. Even if I Fractured Identity'd it. So here I'm okay, you know what? I'll play 16 lands. I have a decent amount of card draw. I'll play 3 to 12, so I still have the ratio where Cryptic is pretty good. Now we're going into some matches, so I will speed up the replay. Here we go. Hyper speed, playback, speed. I like doing the faster playback because there's a lot of dead time when you play Magic Online. And so when you guys, gals, non-binaries, are watching at home, you can sort of get a vintage draft in much faster if I speed up all the dead time. Now, that does mean I have to pause every once in a while when really fast game actions happen, but hey, I'd rather go blazing fast and then slow down when necessary than, right now the source video that I'm watching is 2 hours long, which 2 hours of content are great, but I'd rather you be able to watch 2 of my videos or even 3 of my videos. The Eldrazi video that I talked about before, I get that in 40 minutes. 40 minutes, you get 3 match wins and a draft. Woo! Woo! That's a speed run. That's a personal best. Sped up, of course, with the replay, but still, it's 3060, baby. So, waiting for my opponent. I might even cut ahead a little bit. Here we go. And we've cut ahead. I'm controlling time, just like my deck. So this is great. I have the Daze. I have a Vendilion Click to follow it up with. I have an Archmage to follow that up with, and the Shell. Now, the problem with Shelldock on 1 is it leaves me... Now, they're green, so it's they could very well have Channel. They mulligan down to 5 cards, which, on the one hand, to me is kind of okay, let's talk about this. Too many things are happening way too early. Okay. Okay, so, I take this Sphinx with the Shelldock because, Tef is good, Time Walk is good, but I kind of want Time Walk in my deck in case I get Mystical Tutor. Tef is great, but I need to make sure I have access to my win conditions. Consecrated Sphinx is one of those win conditions. Now, as I was saying, by playing the Shelldock instead of an island on turn 1, I am vulnerable to a turn 2, channel big thing. And because they mulligan down to 5 and they're green, those are the decks, those hyper combo decks are the decks that tend to mulligan down to 5 because they're looking for both pieces. So I am adequately scared right now. They play the Lotus Cobra, and now I'm thinking that, you know what? They probably have Natural Order. They probably have a third turn Natural Order with the extra mana from the Lotus Cobra. I'm just going to slow them down. Technically, I have the Daze backup if I need it, but yeah, I just don't want them to have the mana. Because if they have a fetch land, they could do broken things. I was debating dazing that, decided not to. They wasteland my beautiful Sphinx. My Sphinx lost in the exile zone. Kind of befitting for a Sphinx. They were Rofellos, and ain't no way I can give you that. Now, I'm assuming they kept small things and ways to win the game. If I keep them on low lands and low resources because they don't have that many cards to draw, I can potentially win this game while they can't play their big things. So now I get to see. I'm they can't play the Felidar Retreat, even though Cultivate and Nissa make Felidar Retreat kind of a dangerous thing in this matchup. So I leave them with just playing an Arbor Elf this turn. I probably would have blocked the Cobra if they attacked. So now it's like, do I leave shields down again, or do I leave up Snapcaster Daze? I just want the Glenalindra. I'm banking on decks that have a lot of mana dorks tend to not play that many lands, or not as many lands, and so I'm thinking that, maybe I can make sure that they just cultivate this turn. I will have Glenalindra. So technically, they could have nisted this turn as well. They could have played a land and then gotten the 2 mana. So yeah, I blocked this Lotus Cobra. They probably did not expect for me to do that. But I do, because I only see one powerful spell in their hand, and the Lotus Cobra is enabling them to do things like Primeval Titan and stuff like that. So I want to make sure those things do not hit the ground. I want to get as many attacks in the air in as possible. I take the Spell Pierce, thinking that like, oh, now I'll have some counterplay for this Felidar, and I'm just like searching my deck. The Control Magic is useful. That was on that Ponder, but I don't want to guaranteed draw 2 lands, so I ship it back and I get this Fencer, which I'm very happy with. So here I'm expecting to Spell Pierce a Felidar Retreat. Instead, they played Nissa, which is fine. It makes sense. So I'm sitting here, just generally attacking them in the air, leaving up control. I still have this Brazen Bar to play. They're kind of dead now, right? Like, even if they play big ground things, I can attack them for 7 in the air, which is probably what I should have done. Instead, I decided to bounce the Tireless. I don't know. Whoa, I could have only attacked them. No, I could have attacked them for 7 in the air. What am I doing? William, you could have won. Oh, you dummy. Especially because I know... Yeah, that was a dumb. They concede anyways, but that was a dumb. I should have kept the Venture up for anything that would have changed the status quo, but then planned to win in the air. Here, great card. I do need a white, but hey, I look at this and I go, okay, yeah, I'll keep all these cards. I technically have Daze up, but I'm like, I don't. They have potentially 6 mana up next turn if they Rofellos. Luckily I have that Ancestral to do something on my second turn. But yeah, you can't allow the green deck to have 6 mana on turn 2. There's just so many broken things. And then my Daze is kind of worthless then, because they have 3 extra mana, what was making them pay 1 extra due. So now we're just sort of like staring at each other. What do you do? They Tireless Tracker. Now I'm like, no, the green deck has value. So I haven't seen anything really broken from them yet. To me, right now their deck seems like a green value deck. They like play lands with Felidar and Tireless Tracker, and they get either creature tokens, +1/+1 tokens, or I guess counters, or these clues. And then it's like Yavimaya Elder. I'm not too worried. I just want to get rid of your Tireless Tracker to sort of get rid of the power that'll be hitting me in the face, and then B, these extra clues that are getting you more cards. Now, my opponent is going absolutely wild with card advantage. It's going to be a very tough game. So here I'm like, yeah, I'll counterspell the tracker. I'll draw a card. It seems to be your main source of value, and it becomes huge as far as smacking my face. They now get to flip Nis and play a 4/4. I'm not too worried about it. I can always Snapcaster the control, the Cryptic, and bounce the 4/4. I get all my extra cards, and now I'm like, so many options of what to do here. I can Narset and try desperately to get a Time Walk, but I kind of want to do that after I have, I do it anyways. I really should have things in play before I do that. But hey, I get my Time Warp, and I say, okay, now I can Mystical Tutor for hopefully Time Walk. So a bunch of lands. I take the 1 non-lands card with my Shelldock, even though, there is the Time Reveler to think about white mana for. It doesn't matter. Shelldock has horrible luck here. I'm about to lose my Narset. Oh, Narset. And now there's a lot of interesting things I need to decide to do. Like, do I Time Warp? Do I Glenalindra and wait to Time Warp? And then they play old Scavengey Uzi, which means I won't be Snapcastering back my extra spells. I mean, maybe if they F6, I can get them. You can be like, oh, they've F6, do it fast. But it's not the, it's not the best plan to have, is to hope your opponent makes. You need to assume that your opponent will be doing smart smarts, not dumb dumbs. Otherwise, very often you will run into your opponent doing smart smarts that you didn't even assume that they had. So I now have a thought about like, what do you fractured identity here? On the one hand, there's the Nissa, and then I can make a 4/4, but then they win. They can make the Scavenging Ooze such that they can make the Scavenging Ooze like a 6/6. I think they can make the Scavenging Ooze a must block. They have 3 in their graveyard, and there is just the nothing in mine. Nothing in mine. So they can't quite make the Scavenging Ooze a must block. I grab the Questing Beast because it can trade for one of theirs. If I grab their 4/4, they can make another 4/4. If I grab the Nissa, they still attack me. So yeah, this is just game over. They've now won. I wait just to make sure that they attack. Assuming, and then I see Fast Bond, and I'm like, interesting, Fast Bond. So usually in decks with lots of mana dork, you don't play Fast Bond because you're playing like less than 17 land. You're playing like 13 to 15 lands, and so the Fast Bond really won't be that good. So either they have draw 7s, which they're not in the colors for it. Maybe they have Memory Jar. Nah. B, they have Wasteland, so maybe they also have Strip Mine, and like the Crucible of Worlds or Reanimate Excavator. So here I'm gonna grab the Snapcaster so that I have Snapcaster Time Walk potentially as a thing. But yeah, the Fast Bond is very interesting to me. That like, okay, so they play Fast Bond. I'm like, my booty clenches very tight right now because Fast Bond does broken. So it's like, okay, the Cradle, which makes no mana. They test it, I guess, to make sure that it makes no mana. And now I don't play the Jace because if they have something scary, they're going to try to play it as fast as possible. They've played all the lands that they can, so get out of here, Cobra. I don't want them having... Once again, this shuts them down from Gaia's Cradle, giving them mana, and an extra mana if they play any land. So I'm very happy to mana leak. Then they Rofellos, which only makes 2 mana, 1 from the Cradle and then 1 from the extra 4. So I'm kind of okay, but I'm like, no, I don't want you to have a lot of mana. I'm going to stall you out as long as possible. And now I'm like, they're at 6 mana now. That's 6 mana is where, 5 mana. They have wood. There's not the Woodfall Primus. There's the 4/4 for 3 and 2 green that makes 2/2 manifest tokens. At 6 mana, there's also the Greater Gargadon, but a lot of the good green drops traditionally in Cube happen at like 6, like prime time. I guess a lot of them now are at 5. So, but yeah, it's important to get rid of that bird. Then they play Primal or Finale of Devastation. I'm like, oh, for 2, are they getting the Scavenging Ooze? I have the Rofellos, so they get Steve, and I'm like, whatever. Is Steve away? I do not care. And now I have to think of what I do. So I can Narset and then Jace. I can Jace and then Narset. They have a deadly amount of mana now, so I am very scared. I'm like, Ancestral Visions? That's going to take forever. Get it out of here. I was kind of hoping for a land so that I could... why didn't I play Narset? Oh, I'm planning on Brazen Borrower. So my thought is like, I might have to kill them in the air. Yeah, and there's the Ooze, which now the Ooze is going to go absolutely bonkers nuts. They have so much mana, and the more Ooze tokens they make, the more mana they get. So I'm like, that's a dangerous. So I can draw the Time Walk with my Jace. Next turn, I can then activate the Time Walk. I get rid of the Teferi. I don't have any white, and while I could bounce one of the tokens, it doesn't solve the problem intrinsically yet. So now I could have actually bounced the Biogenic Ooze and then plan to Vendilion it when it's in their hand. But now I'm like, what do I do? Do I get rid of the Narset? Do I get rid of the Sphinx? I'm getting close to being able to Shell Dock, and if I can Shell Dock, I can. Oh, I guess. So right now, the thought is like, okay, extra turns are how I win this. I think what I want to do is I want to Vendilion. Right now I can tack them down to 9. I can Time Walk with my Jace. Take an extra turn. If I play Vendilion now on my turn, I can tack them down to 3. And then I'm pretty sure they can't kill me in 1 turn with the Biogenic Ooze, famous last words. So I can hopefully then have 2, and I do need 2 attackers in the air. They have this Birds of Paradise, so I do, like, there are so many times when a Birds of Paradise has blocked like an Emrakul or some amazing flying thing, so I do need the extra flyer. So I go for Vendilion, see what they have. Crater Hoof, who? Crater Wolf. I'm also now kind of worried about, they have this Felidar retreat and fast spawn, so I can see if they have, once again, some like Crucible or Ramanamp Excavator and a fetch land, and they can make all their creatures kind of like super big. But now I have them down to 3, so they can really only use fast spawn 3 times. I shut down the Cradle just because that's a lot of mana, and I make something smaller, hey, just in case. So I'm wondering what they can do. I'm like, okay, opponent. I know one card in their hand. I'm feeling pretty safe, especially because even if they get one of my 3/1s, I can now attack with Frost Titan, tap the birds, and then I only need 1 flyer to kill them. Okay, they flip the Nissa. They're kind of just looking for cards. They find the Strip Mine, so they do have a Strip Mine, and I'm imagining, and they do have Ramanamp. So if they had more life, they could have kept getting back the Strip Mine, and then maybe played the Felidar Retreat, and then made all their creatures super large and maybe must block. So, whoo! I mean, good. It makes sense why my opponent has what they had then, of like, oh, okay, that's why they played Felidar Retreat, which is a weird one. I've yet to see it. I think I've seen it like played twice in Vintage Cube, and usually it's by like, once it was like a white weenie deck as their basically late game anthem, and then once it was a blue white control deck of like, you know what, I don't need creatures, I can make creatures with my lands. So here I have a Daze, I have a Glenalindra. I'm hoping to make it to 6 mana and just time walk you to death. But my opponent has a blazing fast start. This Daze is practically worthless now. They have, I'm 1 mana to 5 mana. Ugh. So the Gilded Lotus, and once again, I hate to do it, but I feel like I have to Daze this. If I let it resolve, my Daze is basically a dead card, because, you know, it basically means they have +2 with their Gilded Lotus, but then they have 7 mana. So many broken things you can do with 7 mana in Magic. So many broken things you can do with 6 mana. So I'm pretty much, in my mind, like, oh, I've lost this game. They don't do anything, and I'm like, are they Eldraziing? Are they some sort of like memory jar deck and they just don't have it? I'm so confused right now that my opponent didn't do anything. I could time walk here as an explorer, but I wait. Hopefully I want a Glenalindra or maybe in the Sphinx out first. And if I can survive, if I can wait and I can get that Soulfire time walk, then I win no matter how much mana my opponent has. Although they're black, so they could have a removal. Chillin'. You know, I'm also just content to sit here because technically their Mana Crypt is killing them. So this is a difficult decision. Because I can Brainstorm and then afterwards Mystical Tutor, I can get rid of 2 cards in my hand and I don't have to see them ever again. Goodbye. You are not wanted here. So I do need lands because the Consecrated Sphinx, but I have a little bit of card draw with the Remand. We're just sitting here poking each other back and forth. I think what I want, I get rid of them. So I get rid of, I make a head. I don't have the white yet, so I'm like, okay, bye-bye Soulfire Grandmaster. I'm probably going to time walk before that. I grab Cryptic Command because whatever they are about to play is gonna be a big. And they might have like Mind Twist. So they Baby Jace, and I'm like, well, they don't have any spells in their graveyard yet. Maybe I just go, bye-bye, Baby Jace. I don't know if that's the smartest thing to do. I mean, I guess I have now Glenalindra protection in case they're mind twisting. So I'm like, okay, shields are down. They Thran Dynamo, and I'm like, why would I want to... They already have enough mana. What I'm in my mind, what I'm thinking is, oh, maybe they don't have any of their payoffs. They have like 2 lands or 2 more signets or whatever in their hand. They need this Jace to draw cards, but they don't have any payoff. So I let the Thran Dynamo by because, like, I'm thinking, like, oh, well, what is 3 more mana? Now, if they're Eldraziing, then yeah, that 3 mana is important. But also, like, you don't play Eldrazian planning to, like, cast them, even if they have 8. Even if they have 8 artifacts that make extra mana, they're still not casting Eldrazi till, like, turn 7, 8. It's not like the best strategy in Vintage Cube. And so in my mind, I'm not worried that their plan is artifacts into cast big Eldrazi. That's not what I'm thinking is happening here. I leave the shields up, and what do you know? They Eldrazi. So they're going to get to take an extra turn regardless. I'm like, oh, this is poop. This is poop city. But right now, I don't have much in my hand that can punish me for their extra turn, right? They can play Time Walk and counterspell it, and then I draw Venser, and I'm like, oh, that is something that I can get punished for. Now they can get rid of my Shelldock, and they see that I have an extra turn under my Shelldock. So this is a mistake from them. They counterspell the Time Walk. That's not the mistake. But then the Glenalindra comes back into play. They could have double counterspelled my Time Walk and killed my Glenalindra. Instead, they opt to Venser my Shelldock, which I also understand is a good play. But now I have 2 creatures in play. I don't have an extra return, but I also get another roll on the Shelldock. So like, I'm very lucky to have drawn the Snapcaster. It looks like I'll be getting yet another card. So I'm checking my deck to see what do I have. I can Vendilion the Emrakul away. I scroll over Fractured Identity, but Fractured Identity can't target. Oh, as protected from colored instants, right? Not sorceries. I believe Emrakul. Hey, find me later. MTG Emrakul. It's protection from instance, just instance. Protection from instance, which means I can actually frag. Hey, William, you're actually pretty smart. Yay! So I see this control magic, and I like it because control magic is also another way I can get rid of this Emrakul. The problem, though, of course, is that they'll get to control my turn. But we've now breached the point where I can play control magic with a Shelldock. I just need to leave enough mana up. And look, what do you know? Between this, it's kind of dangerous to play the Sphinx because I'll be drawing more of my own answers for the turn that they get to Emrakul. But now I'm like, okay, I have this Shelldock with this control magic. They can play Emrakul, and I can grab it in response. And then unfortunately, my opponent makes another mistake. I think they should have won this game, but they play this Emrakul. That is not the mistake. Or they can't. So now they're stuck. They might be a newer player. They're stuck in the draw step trigger of my Consecrated Sphinx. I don't know. Or they could be used to Magic Arena, not Magic Online. So they let me draw even more cards with my Sphinx, which is a liability at this point. You know, Brazen Borrower. I can't use that on Emrakul. I get my Fractured Identity to bye. I'm so sorry. Oh, I left you at soccer practice. And then they Emrakul. They're gonna get my turn. And then they revoke her. And here's the thing. This is not a mistake. I am in fact dumb. What I thought is they should have revoked my Shelldock prior to playing the Emrakul so that I could not control magic it, but I forgot that Phyrexian Revoker is not like Pithing Needle, and it says a non-land card. Name a non-land card. So Shelldock is good to go regardless. Either way, I control magic in response, and now there's no way, like, I'm trying to think if I have any cards that, like, they can bounce the control magic, but I still have the Consecrated Sphinx. Well, if they bounce the control, they need to. Oh, wait. Let me think about this. If they bounce the control magic, they get back their Emrakul. Then they can control magic something else. Use something like control magic my own thing. They can attack with one of my 2/2s, trade with Revoker. Oh, but then I now have Frost Titan the Emrakul down and attack for the win. So lots of things at play. But I take it home, and now I'm thinking, like, okay, they're playing Super Ramp Eldrazi. This is interesting. I don't think I want to change my deck. I don't think I changed my deck too much. So, yeah, this is a decent hand. No protection early, but because my opponent, I think, is doing late game things, I'm like, who needs early game protection? They're doing, like, they're planning to play Eldrazi on turn, like, 6 and 7. The first few turns, we're just staring at each other. So, okay, great. They played Mana Vault, and I'm like, okay, so very cool on my opponent to have. They do actually have most of the ramp artifacts, the good ones. And now I'm like, what? What is this? That's a turn 2 Karn. That is faster than Tron. This is why Vintage is... At this point, you can't even be mad. You really can't. It says, like, you turn 2 Karn in a limited format. Like, that's just so cool, even though I'm the one eating it. So, counterplay. In my mind, I'm thinking, if they take a turn off for the Karn to hit my hand, maybe I can Vendilion click and attack the Karn down. If they're not playing anything else, if I can delay the Karn from going off and resetting the game, their Mana Crypt might kill them. So they might Karn their own Mana Crypt just to not die from it. So I'm like, okay, there's a little bit of hope. I just got to maybe Vendilion, and then maybe I can control magic. Like maybe. Bribery pretty much ends it. So they can Frost Titan me down. They can Sphinx and draw every card that they would ever need. So, my deck, when it needs to count, is giving me the poopiest of hands. Just, I know I left a lot of you at soccer practice, but come on, please. So I'm not going to mulligan down to 5. Once again, my deck needs card advantage too much. I'm going to risk it on this Jace and this Time Walk and this Brazen Bar. So I'm like, and now I'm so certain I'm going to lose this game. I'm like, my opponent's going to play, and then he plays Looter, or they play Looter Ilkor, and I'm like, what? Looter Ilkor? What is this? Are you a, what? Looter Ilkor? What kind of, this is a completely different deck. This is a Reanimate. This is a Reanimate deck. Did they transformative sideboard me? So now I'm thinking, like, okay, maybe I just Brazen Borrower as Brazen Borrower and attack the Lily down. Maybe thinking of discarding either the Soulfire or the Tef. It's hard, because the Soulfire right now, I sort of maybe have the Infinite combo, which is a way to come back from pretty much anything. And then they discarded Necromancy, and I'm like, that cannot be correct. They Scarab God, and more like the Scary God. Oh, no! So I got some decisions to make. They don't uptick the Lily. So I'm just like, okay, I'm gonna play this Brazen Borrower. The thought here is that I can attack down the Lily, Time Walk, and then maybe try to race them or something. I get the Shelldock, I get a Cryptic, so I have something to hope for. And I'm like, what do I do here? Obviously, I'm gonna try to be Time Walk, Snapcaster, Time Walk. I kill them because I have the extra turn, so I'm going to wait to kill the Lily. And then, this is interesting. So, what I could do is I could Control Magic the Scarab God, attack down the Lily, and then wait to take my extra turn once I have the Scarab God. What I'm thinking is, the Lily doesn't have 2 counters on it. I'm not scared of it. I'm okay discarding a card. I have no white and 2 dead white cards in my hand. So, I'm going to take the extra turn. I'm still going to attack you. I'm going to try to get them down really far. And then now the plan is Control Magic the Scarab God. My plan was Control Magic the Scarab God, attack Lily with Snapcaster, attack them with Brazen Borrower. But now I can bounce the Scarab God with the Tef, and because I didn't uptick the Lily, I can get them down really low. This Mana Crypt will be then sort of threatening, and then the turn after, I can Control Magic their Scarab God. Because I'm guessing if they play the Scarab God once, they might play it again. And as long as they don't have 9 mana, they can't also... so I do Control Magic. I'm thinking maybe because if I can remove anything that they play, then now they're sort of like dead. I really think I don't know what they have in their hand, but apparently it's not game-winning cards, so... I'm kind of thinking that they should have upticked their Lily that one turn. The shade. Apparently, it's not game-winning cards. I did not mean to come off that sassy, but okay, sure. They revoke her the Scarab God, even though they haven't seen black from me, which makes sense. I mean, it makes sense. And then now, guess what, opponent? You're dead. And if you weren't dead from the cards that I play, you'd be dead because I have you have Mana Crypt, which will probably kill you. And they were about to draw. They had 21 cards in the library. They're about to draw down to 20, which would have turned on my Cryptic Command, which also will put them in danger. So 2-1, 2-1. This is one of the problems with value decks in Cube. Is like all of your games have to be hard fought, and you have to actually think. Blah. I just want to play land, channel, Emrakul. Easy, simple, mulligan down to a very simple plan. Instead, I have to think of all these lines and think of combinatorics between extra turns and the things I'll play and win, and it just makes things more difficult. So Shell Dock, I grabbed the only thing that's not a land, which is a Narset. I think I maybe played a little bit too few white, because I keep having these dead cards in my hand. But you know what? Most of the time I've been able to get rid of the dead cards in my hand, so I'm not so worried. They Jace, and I'm wondering, and then they're playing Reanimator, and here's an interesting decision. So they've played Iona for blue. I have no non-blue cards in my deck. So this is where the mental part of Magic comes into play. I can either keep playing and make my opponent think like, oh. And then I could even discard some of my... I mean, I guess Soulfire Grandmaster is my only non-blue card, but I'm not going to win just by playing Soulfire. Anyways, I can keep playing, discard some of my white cards, and make them think that, like, oh, maybe they have Path, maybe they have Swords. He's continuing to play. That means he has answers in this deck. And then games 2 and 3, they won't go sort of... They might either name white with Iona, or they'll go for another Reanimate target. Or what I can do is I can concede now, making them think I have no answers to Iona, that they need to discard everything they have and just go balls to the wall for reanimating Iona. And then I can sideboard in that Bloodchief's Thirst, that Wrath of God, that Vindicate, and then I can actually have answers. So there's two ways this can go. I opt for just going, you know what, that's game. Let's do this. And then I'm thinking that I'll do Transformative Sideboard. But then I get to the sideboard and I'm like, I don't want to mess up my mana base for a few answers to one of the reanimation targets. Here's the thing. I play Reanimate and Vintage Cube more than any other deck. I know it so well. I have drafted Iona to reanimate Iona honestly at least 100 times. That's probably literally lowballing it. I have drafted Iona so many times and then never seen her in any of the matches. I know that you get the reanimate target that your hand gives you, not always the one that you want. So I'm willing to risk that they won't have the Iona when they need it. So this is me thinking like, do I try to get too white to Wrath of God, and then I even have to have already like drawn it, and same thing with like the Vindicate and the Bloodchief's Thirst. Like I'm not playing. It's so hard to play Brazen Borrower, Vendilion, Cryptic Command, and then Wrath of God, Vindicate, Bloodchief's Thirst, which will also need 2 black if I want to use it on a big creature. So I just decide, you know what? Nope, I'm going to roll the dice. Because I've played the Reanimate deck so often, I know that once again, I've seen Iona duck me for whole drafts, even though I've won. Once again, my deck may be a little light on land, then I have to mulligan. So before I show what I mulligan, which I don't even know if it's the correct decision. I mean, it won the game, so it must have been. But once again, just because you win the game does not mean that you made the statistically correct decision. You could have made the decision that only wins you the game in 5% of games, and it just is one of those 5% of games. Well, 95% of the time, it's the bad choice, and so statistically, you should have made the other decision. But decide which card you would get rid of for the mulligan, and then I'm going to show what I do. So I'm thinking like, okay, I have 3 lands. I need 4 for this Archmage, and if I get the Archmage out, I'm pretty well protected. The extra turn, like, do I need it? I'm really only maybe going to be using it as an Explorer. I'm going to need a draw. I have no card draw, and I'm going to need 5 mana for this Fractured Identity. Do I get rid of the Brazen Borrower? I get rid of the Fractured Identity, and then I take it back. I go, wait, I don't know. I'm not so sure. Here's the thing. I love this deck so much because of how unique it is, and it's not what I normally draft, that I really want to showcase it on YouTube. But I don't want to showcase drafts when I don't win. I'm a new streamer. People don't want to watch me unless I'm winning. So I get rid of the Brazen Borrower, even though it is an answer to if they reanimate things other than Iona. But I figure if I can survive long enough, Fractured Identity is an answer that then also wins me the game instead of delays them winning the game. So they pack rat, and I don't really care. Now, on the one side, Pack Rat is dangerous in that they don't have to do anything else this whole draft. They can just Pack Rat, keep making Pack Rat tokens. They'll kill me in 4 turns. So that is dangerous. So now I'm like, okay, I can't really allow that to happen. What I am betting is this Pack Rat is their discard outlet. in Reanimate, you need big creature, you need discard outlet, and you need Reanimate spell. There's a 3-part combo. I'm assuming that this is 1 part of that. So I'm thinking that, and you know what? I'm thinking that they're going to need to spend all of their mana discarding something. So I'll have a free turn where I don't have to worry about the Reanimate. It's a risk. It's a risk, but it's a calculated risk. And once again, I've played Reanimate so many times. I know how many times I haven't had a discard outlet or and like begging to draw one. So I'm betting that they don't have 2. So I'm chilling, taking that calculated risk. 100% I'm planning on blocking if they attack because I can't let Pack Rat get out of control. I cannot. I can't let Pack Rat get above a 2/2, really. Technically, I could let it where if they discard it, it gets to a 3/3, then use Venser to block, bounce one, kill another one, and then it's back down to 1/1s. But yeah. I forced their hand as far as making them do something. They play Ashen Rider, which is a good Reanimate target, but it doesn't shut me out of the game. So I don't have the fear inside me right now. Interesting one. I go for Jace because I have this Time Walk, and also Jace is sort of a win condition. Mana Leak might not be relevant by the time we play, 9 more turns to get to where I can cast the Shelldock. I now have Venser and Glenalendra up. I have an interesting choice in that if they attack with this Pack Rat, I could Venser bounce. I could bounce my Glenalendra and reset it. I could bounce one of their lands to set them back, and then I can block. If they Pack Rat token before they attack, I might have Venser to deal with the problem. The problem then is it does put shields down. So now they Vampiric Tutor, and what I'm guessing, they've already discarded a fatty. I'm guessing that either they're getting the Reanimate spell with this, or they're getting Iona because they know it shuts me out of the game, and then they're planning to discard the Iona and win. Now they do it before combat, so it means they've left their Pack Rat. Also, I don't counter the Vampiric because Vampiric Tutor is card disadvantageous. They lose a card to Vampiric Tutor. They get amazing card selection, but yeah, okay, so they get a Reanimate spell. I'm assuming that's what they got with the Vamp. I want to Spell Pierce now. They have 4 mana, so if they Exhume next turn, I can't. Spell Pierce is not an answer. And if they remove one of my lands with the Ashen Rider, I could just be out of the game. I could not draw another land, not be able to Fractured Identity. So I Spell Pierce. While the Spell Piercing is good, the Pack Rat lives to see another day. And then now, hey, I got Snapcaster. Why don't I take an extra turn? So I could wait until I have Ventured something, but at this point, I'm like, you know what? I'm going to attack you down. I could also save the Snapcaster for either Fractured Identity or Spell Pierce, but right now, I'm just trying to get their life down. I have the Venser to stall them out even later. I'm also thinking maybe the Snapcaster can trade for one of these Pack Rats. Right now, because I have this Cryptic up, I don't mind using this Venser to just make your Pack Rat smaller. And if I'm going to do that, I might as well save myself 1 life. Doesn't matter which one I bounce. Now, maybe in retrospect, I should have bounced their untapped one because then I could attack for 5. They couldn't block. But if they're blocking, I'm happy. I'm happy to trade. Snapcaster has served its usefulness. And now I'm sort of good in that I have Glenalendra back up. I have Cryptic to tap down their creatures, and I just need to get 2 attacks through. So I'm feeling pretty confident. They Narset. What I don't want them to do is I let this Narset resolve. They Narset number 1, and they get a Reanimate spell, and then they have another Reanimate spell, and I've sort of pooped myself. So I just say, you know what? I mean, technically I could kill the Narset, but that also gives them another turn to live because I'm not attacking them down. So I just go, you know what? Let's do this. I still have the Glenalendra as backup. Now you have no creatures, so I can kill you in 2 turns. Feeling pretty confident about this one. And once again, the Vampiric Tutor was card disadvantage because it's like the discarding part of Reanimator is card disadvantage until you reanimate. Then it was a smart move. So they've sort of card disadvantaged themselves in many ways thus far. Chillin', I would have Mystic Tutored for another turn. Here, I get rid of Ancestral because I'm going to be on the draw. The first 3 turns are the most important. for if you can survive to turn like 5-6 against Reanimator and your control, you're probably in a good position. I don't get me wrong. There's still things like Iona that can shut you out of the game, but you're probably doing well. So by the time I get the Ancestral Vision cards, I will already be in a good position. And if I draw it on turn 6 or 7, it's pretty much not going to be that useful. So that's why I sideboard that out. I'm thinking Commit to Memory gives me another answer if they get something into play. Instead, I'm like, you know what? I've been having to mulligan a lot because of land issues. I'm just gonna sideboard in another land, another planes, because both Fractured Identity and Teferi are some of my answers to a resolved big thing. Not Iona, but otherwise. So I just want to make sure I don't have to mulligan this game, and that if I draw one of my answers, I can play it. You know, I'd be so mad if I'm stuck with Commit to Memory in hand. And because I'm not using memory. The one good thing about about the memory side against Reanimate is it shuffles their graveyard into their library, so they have to rediscard something. But giving like on turn 7 or 8, giving Reanimate 7 new cards, they'll probably have a discard outlet and a way to reanimate. So here I have some protection, but it doesn't go up until later. I'm shields down. They have Vampiric Tutor, and I'm like, whoa, uh-oh. So here, I'm assuming in my mind, if I were them, I'm assuming they Vamp Tutor for Iona. They know it shuts me out of the game. I'm betting that they're getting it. Here, I like all these cards. I'm getting Cryptic. I just want answers. Maybe I shouldn't have put it on top in case they have a discard spell. So now I have double protection up, which will buy me hopefully 2 turns to be able to play this Cryptic. So they're not doing anything. I'm happy. I get to Cryptic. I grab that 1 non-land card. I get to Counterspell and then delay into Cryptic, then hopefully Time Warp into this Frost Titan. So they Thirst for Knowledge. Here's the thing about this Thirst for Knowledge. I know the Reanimate deck. I'm betting that they vamped for the Iona. That's combo piece number 1, the creature. This Thirst for Knowledge is not only card advantage, but I'm betting they're using it as their discard outlet. So what I bet they had Thirst for Knowledge, some land, and a Vampiric Tutor. They were thinking, I vamp into the creature that I need, I Thirst, discard it, and then hopefully the cards from the Thirst draw me into my Reanimate spell. I do not want to remand this, because if they have 4 mana next turn, they can Thirst, discard, and potentially Reanimate. If I shut this down, they still need to play both a discard outlet and a Reanimate spell, have the mana for both, and have the big creature. I don't know if they Vampiric Tutored, but I have to shut this Thirst down, and Remand gives them a window to win. So I'm like, nope, no Thirst for you. You are not thirsty. You dry. So now I have Cryptic Command up and Remand. I'm feeling pretty confident. I'm getting to the point where I can Time Warp and potentially Frost Titan. They Imperial Steel, once again, I'm happy to see it. I'm betting I'm correct in what just happened, and they're Imperial Sealing now for maybe another discard outlet. And if they needed the Thirst to draw the Reanimate spell, it means they're still missing 1 piece of the 3-piece combo. It's like that fire triangle where it's like you need like an ignition source, a catalyst, and like oxygen or whatever. As long as you're removing one of the things, you're safe. So I Time Warp, hoping that I can draw an extra land for Frost Titan. I do, and now I'm like, do I Frost Titan or do I Tef? Frost Titan or do I Tef? The thing with having Tef in play is that Tef gives me Iona protection. And that, like, Frost Titan, I could lock down one of their lands, but if they happen to have discard outlet, discard Iona, Reanimate, which they have tutored twice, they have what they want from their deck. Like, they got it. So I Tef down so that I'm not just dead to Iona. I have Remand up, but once again, if they have like Entomb and Reanimate, they only have to spend 2 black. So Frost Titaning one of their lands away doesn't necessarily shut them out. Remand doesn't necessarily shut them out. Teferi might protect me long enough. So they Grave Titan, and I'm like, okay, yeah, I will delay that. And now I'm betting, what I'm betting is, if in my mind, if I'm thinking, because of the hundreds and hundreds of reps I have on Reanimate, not to brag, it's just the one deck that, and it's not even bragging, Reanimate fails terribly many times in Vintage Cube. It's just the deck that I see value in that the average drafting pool tends to not value as highly as I value it. So I usually think I'm getting a deal, whether I actually am or not. My record will say, but I'm on like the top 10% of the leaderboard. So anyways, but then you could just spend a bunch of time drafting you on the top 10%. It's really how many wins versus losses you have. Anyways, I'm betting the first plan of Vampiric Tutor, Vampiric for the Iona, Thirst for Knowledge discarded, Reanimate did not work. So instead, they Imperial Sealed for the Grave Titan because it's a Reanimate target that they can cast. That's what I am betting happened. So they've been very card disadvantageous. They've been getting mostly spells, I would imagine, with these tutors. So now I think if I can just lock their land down with this Frost Titan, maybe they waste a turn. Not only am I getting rid of blue, which could be what they use for their discard outlet with Charter Course, etc., but they might not have the land to cast Grave Titan. I might get a free turn here. And because I have the Teferi backup, I'm not scared of getting shut out of the game via Iona. I have a lot of decisions to make here. One thing I can do is I can Mystical Tutor for my Time Walk and then either Narset or Teferi it. I can also try to wait and Soulfire Grandmaster. Yeah. Instead, I just go for it. Like, I don't go for the ultimate combo. Maybe I should have. But yeah. And that's game. A very hard fought time turns and turns. I think I'm gonna count how many extra turns I took and put that in the YouTube. But this is great. I'm so glad I get to post this. Sometimes the universe just gives you cool things with like the Time Walk, then Time Warp, which is also very lucky that I got all the pieces, that I wasn't forced into red or white because of what the rest of the drafting pool was doing. But hopefully this is a strategy that you can look out for as well. It's kind of blue-white control, but really it's mostly blue control with just some bomb white cards as support. Once again, if you like this video, actually like it on YouTube. Click that like, thumbs up. It helps a lot, and it's very easy to do. Costs you nothing. If you really liked it, comment. People have been leaving nice comments. It means a lot. We'll see how long the nice comments continue. And if you really like, please subscribe. It helps the channel. And check out other videos. I'm sure in the end credits, like right now, I'll be showing that Eldrazi video where the universe gave me all 3 of the Eldrazi siblings. So thank you so much. Catch you next time. Bye.